Order the January 21st meeting of the Fairhope Airport Authority. First thing I'll recognize is a quorum there. And the first order of business is to approve the minutes of the December 17th meeting.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes as written, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Since Chip isn't here, I'll do the kind of the operations standpoint. Actually, I think we'll talk about this later. We have the annual review from the city, from the Aeronautics Bureau. But as of I guess last Tuesday, when we got information from Kyle Clemmer, I think we had 5 runway lights out. We still had those 3 taxiway lights out, and he had replaced all the bulbs on the PAPI lights. As far as explanation, the runway lights require circuit boards, so he can't replace that. We have to get an electrician out to do that. So there's been a time lag as far as ordering the circuit boards and then getting the electrician. But they will be done. The circuit boards are there, and we'll have that done before the end of the month. Having said that, that's still a lot. It's taken way too long to get it done. Any questions? Okay. Number 5, and there was no note on the shooter. David, do you want to talk a little bit about the flight feeder system? I think you and Chip have worked on that a little bit.
Yeah, I've got so we ended up going with FlightAware's got a tracker. If you put the antenna up at the airport and feed them information, you get your membership free and all the data free. So I went ahead and got the antenna. I've got the 978 for the low-end transponders and the 1090 megahertz for the standard. I got all that stuff in a couple days ago, so I'll be putting that up. Maybe this week, for sure by next week.
So you're going to do all this yourself? You bought the kit?
Yeah. Chip and I set up a Sonny Callahan FlightAware account. So once he's got the password and everything, and right now currently it's my email. But once we set it up and feed them information, we get an $89 a month membership free, and we get all the reporting free.
That's
all
really
be in a
good.
CSV.
That's what I've got down.
Okay.
That's what I was saying.
And then so what will the information be?
All the history, all the landings, everything that the transponders give you. The gentleman at FlightAware assures me there's a way to get it to track, touch, and goes also.
Okay.
What if they don't
sounds
touch
like-
down physically on the ground?
Right. So they'll still, the transponder, we can still, with the information, it'll still show they came and went.
Okay, fine.
So it'll be a standard, all the data is a raw CSV, like an Excel spreadsheet, and we can do whatever we want with it.
Okay.
So once we give them our flight information from our antennas, then we get the membership and all the data for free.
And
What about airplanes like mine that don't have the ADS-B?
About what?
Like mine that don't have the transmitter, what do
It
you call
won't
it?
keep up with you.
It only tracks the aircraft that have the
Okay, gotcha.
1090 or the 978 transmitter.
won't you have to get that in January? Don't you have to do that at some point in time?
No, if you
Now,
don't
it's
fly
a
in that
scheduled
airspace.
flight, it'll be there. So if there's a flight plan filed to
Okay.
land at that airport, it'll be.
I would need it to go into
Like
Class C
Houston,
and
yeah.
above airspace, but
But if he files a VFR flight plan, it'll keep up with you.
What about helicopters? Would it differentiate helicopters at all, or would it capture helicopters?
I guess that question
If they
specific.
got a transponder.
It should be the same transponder frequencies. There's 2 primary frequencies, 1090 and 978.
And we'll have both.
Yes, I got both antennas.
All right, well, that's,
The number of people that'll track went up drastically January the 1st, so, everybody getting ready to.
One thing
Yeah.
has changed, they changed it used to be that if they were blocked transponders, they still reported the actual end numbers, but now they actually won't show blocked end numbers, they just show blocked BLK as a prefix to the flight, but it still shows the flight coming in, like military aircraft and stuff.
Or the few folks that don't want anybody to know where to go.
okay. Well, that's a workaround, so our commitment is $90 a month. We've got the equipment,
Well, we won't have to pay that.
I know.
They
Oh, that's
waived-
right.
They
That's
waived
good.
that.
No, we don't have to pay any membership fee, we feed them the data. We
Okay.
just have the initial expense of the unit, so far it's been $250.
But we said we would split that with you if you can figure out how to bill us. All right. I think I put in your package, and I made one copy for the group, and I passed out one to the audience, of the annual inspection report from AlDOT.
Yeah, that was in
Any questions? I mean, I didn't copy it for everybody, but, I mean, there's one. The summary was, there's a crack in the middle of there's a big crack in the middle of the taxiway. Needs to be fixed. You know, whether we can get by for a couple of years until we get some repaving done in the FAA money, or do we need to, we probably need to ask somebody, maybe ask
Hank.
Hank what we need to do about that.
If I read that right, everything was under
Everything was,
maintenance.
yeah,
or no?
it was nothing substantive. So anyway, it's pretty good report. The taxi, the lights, there were more lights out than I'd like. I like to keep it around 5%. I think we were around 6 or 7, so. But that was, maybe because you came at Christmas, so. Any
You're doing
discussion?
a light upgrade at Jack Edwards, and I'm assuming that's FAA money, I don't know.
It is FAA money, and it's LED, and the LED, and they last forever.
So we need to look at that when we go to resurface and see if we can do all that at the
Yeah.
same time.
That's a good idea. That's a good point. I mean, yep. Kyle does a good job for us, but it would be nice to make it better. Okay, now, discussion development of the 60 acres on the east side south of the new hangars. Don?
We did have a conversation with Zach McClendon a couple weeks ago.
Zach McNeil.
McNeil,
Yeah.
apologize. And too many questions that he's got raised. Really, I have nothing to report. You were in the meeting too. And pretty sure, highly doubtful we can give him what he wants. He wants to buy that acreage, and he wants to do it under certain terms, and I just don't see that happening. I'm being open-minded. I just don't know. So he's going to talk to the ADO rather in Jackson, Graham Caulfield, and get some key questions answered that we told him information. I'm not sure he accepted that information, but he's going to find out for himself about the through the fence concept.
Yeah, that's the issues, leasing versus selling and through the fence. And I think Graham's coming to Baldwin County on the first week of February, and we're trying to schedule a meeting, if you will, for Graham and Zach to get together. Okay?
Yes.
See, we appreciate all your efforts. We got the security plan updated, and we mailed it off.
Yes.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah. That credit goes to Chip mostly.
Yep.
I'll say that, he might be listening.
He may be listed. Review of the ultimate T-hanger layout plan. I think Hank sent y'all some plans. I've got a couple copies here. This is a pretty unique, we've had some interest in people building some T-hangers on the southwest side, and then Hank is basically, taking this a step farther and has an ultimate build-out for some T-hangers, which I think is a pretty good idea. I mean, it really helps with the airport space and gets more T-hangers. And any questions about that?
No, I'm just laying out what Hank gave us with Vince right here, and be glad to share it with anybody.
There's two proposals.
Yeah.
I
What
like
I,
the one going east and west better than the other one.
This one?
Yeah, I like this one better than that one.
This one better?
Mhm.
Yeah, I do too.
which one?
Why is that, Vince? I didn't.
This one?
The hangars going east and west, you got easier access getting out to the other way, you got taxi all the way around.
Yeah, I got you. Well, the way I envision this happening is if we're gonna apply for a grant to do an updated airport improvement plan, and probably get that money in March or April, and this will be part of that updated airport layout plan. This will be we'll update the west side at that point in time. Does that make sense?
Makes sense? Yes.
So, but I think it was very creative of Hank to get to this point.
Yeah.
I completely agree, by the way. I should have had some kind of an idea that something like that could have been laid out. But anyway, that's what he's paid for. Did a good job.
It's a very good job.
And there may be a chance that the FAA can reimburse us for that road too,
Mm-hmm.
which would be that would be a good thing.
Well, we gotta figure out who's gonna pay for all those, finger roads between the hangars
Mhm.
also. Because in the case of those two highlighted ones that Don's got right there, on the south side, this guy's only gonna want half of that road. But the other half's gotta go at the same time.
And it-
Over here, you know, half of that road's going here, and all of that would be for just this. So there's a lot of
moving
great design,
parts.
a lot of questions we gotta
Yeah,
figure out.
yeah. And if we got in the build our own T-hanger business, somebody's got to figure out who's going to build those roads initially, and then get reimbursed.
Sea hanger, right?
All right, so that was really just for discussion. Okay, number 10 is update on development of the new plots on the southwest side. I think we talked about that a little bit. I mean, we're working with a developer or investor to do that. Don, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, yes, Mr. Don Hanson and some other partners have formed a corporation. I believe the number is 5. They have 8 possible, well, they're going to build potentially 8 hangars, and they have 5 rather firm investors, I'll call it. And they're all members of their LLC, and they're waiting for us to sign the lease, and they've been in contact with Hank Eubanks about what Hank does, you know, providing all the typical environmental and engineering work. So they're moving on with diligence, and they're waiting for us to sign that lease, or not, whatever we're going to do.
So what's our pleasure on the lease? We've made some changes on the lease. What do we want to do as a board on the lease? Vince, you have some thoughts on that?
Well, we changed our lease,
Several.
and Josh changed our lease, and then since then, I think this investor recommended some more changes. That's what I hope we were gonna talk about some today.
Okay.
Who recommended the additional changes? The
This
investor?
investor here.
So do you want to wait and talk about that later in an executive session?
I do.
So we'll go into executive session and hammer out the rest of the lease.
Yeah, it's my understanding, although I could, unless there's been discussions that I'm not aware of, that we're all in agreement. And it may be a formality, so we'll find out in executive session.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
The one issue I think was in the phase 2 environmental assessment. And I don't believe, and I've checked with some people that have a lot of confidence in Goodwin Mills, who's done our environmental assessments. They don't believe that for hangars themselves, for biofuel facilities, you need a true phase 2 where you actually do hydrocarbon testing. Now, you need environmental insurance, but you just don't, you don't need a phase 2 to actually look for hydrocarbons on what has basically been pasture land for 70 years.
Makes sense.
Okay? Okay, number 11, Josh?
Before,
Oh,
Josh,
sorry.
could I don't see on the agenda, the discussion, it says 62 acres. Was I supposed to talk about the west side as well in that?
I think I took that off because we've had some discussion about that too.
Right.
But I was told until it became more formalized.
Right.
To kind of keep it low-key.
Well, that's right, yeah. And I did try to reach out to that gentleman today, and he said he can't share any information with me, or us for that matter, until sometime soon, but not right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I took it off.
Very good, okay.
Okay. Okay, 11, Josh? You want to-
Yes, update on the IRS audit. There is no update at this time. We did receive an inquiry from the auditor, just wanting some of the financial information in a slightly different format. And so our bond counsel responded to that and provided the information in the format requested by the auditor. I think that by this time next month, and I don't know when our meeting is next month, don't know the date, but
The 17th.
I'm holding out hope that we
18th.
may have some final word on the audit by the February meeting. But there's nothing substantive to report tonight. So that is the latest on the IRS audit.
On the attorney that's handling that from the bond issue side, are they covering their own costs there, or are we paying them?
Oh, we're paying it.
Yeah, we retained the attorney as bond counsel to respond to the audit.
think I remember a motion.
Thought we did that.
We did, we approved funds to,
Up
My
to
mind's correct.
$15,000? I
We
think
did
that's,
put a
that's my recollection,
Yeah.
there was that cap, that's right.
yeah.
Update on recovery for the south side fence repair. I got a little behind over the Christmas and New Year's holidays, but I have filed the small claims action. So that is out with our process server now to be served on the defendant. It's a small claims case, so once the defendant is served, it will move rather quickly, and probably not by the February meeting, but I would say by the March meeting, we're very likely to have some kind of a resolution to that.
And the fence has been repaired, it cost us $2,500 to repair the fence.
Were we able to use any of that old fence?
The guy just,
Didn't want to.
didn't want to do that, so I felt, well, okay. I guess if I'd taken it to him in a truck and put it out there, he'd have used it, but.
So I'll have another update on that by the next meeting, but again, I think probably a resolution is probably about 2 months, given the time it usually takes a small claims case to run its course. Review and approval of the changes to the authority standard hangar lease. I think we did that last month.
Well, we're
I
still.
don't have any update. I have not made any other changes to the standard hangar lease other than what was approved last month. Now, obviously, there's a discussion about the Fairhope Hangar Partners lease, but the standard hangar lease is what was approved by the board last month. So
Okay.
there haven't been any changes or alterations to that. Update on negotiations with tenants. Plat 10, I've received no word from the prospective tenant on Plat 10. And there was a motion either in November or December that they would have 30 days. So I don't know if we need to consider Plat 10 open at this point in time, or.
I think that's the essence. I mean, Plat 10 would be open for anybody right now.
Well, since you were pretty much the point man on that, Joe, would you say that's so, that Plat 10 is now open for all discussions?
I guess so. I've reached out to Kel before Christmas, and he said he would circle back around me middle of February, but I told him the consequences, and he's aware. So,
Okay.
that's kind of where we are.
All right, very good.
Same thing for Plat 11. There's been no further discussions that I'm aware of about Plat 11.
Well, Jacob Cunningham called me and said they're still moving forward very slowly, but they are moving forward. He's, so, I don't know where they are. You sent the letter,
I sent their attorney a copy of the revised hangar lease after the board approved it in the December meeting, and have not heard anything since that time. 13 and 14, that was a relatively new inquiry, from what I understand, and the board in December asked me to take a look at whether this prospective tenant could have the aircraft maintenance and repair facilities, because I think that was part of what he was proposing to do. I saw nothing in the Continental lease that would make that aircraft repair and maintenance facility exclusive to Continental. And then piggybacking on that, I think that our grant assurances prohibit exclusive use, so I think that somebody would be allowed to come in and conduct the maintenance and repair type facilities. Now, and I thought the board may have some additional questions, but I have not sent a proposed ground lease to the person who applied for 13 and 14 as of yet. So I'm just waiting on direction from the board before I send a blank ground lease for that person to consider.
I'd send it to him.
yeah.
I mean, no harm in sending him a blank document. He's applying for financing right now, and he has not been successful yet.
Okay, well, I will go ahead and send him the lease then.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would keep everything on an even playing field.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I'll jump over to number 12 on the abandoned aircraft, because that's
Yeah.
kind of something that was within the scope of what I've been working on. We had considered filing for a court order to declare the plane abandoned, but I called Dr. Egerton and spoke with him about this issue, and he referred me to the general counsel in the Department of Transportation, and they had encountered this same issue at the St. Elmo Airport, and they had used a section of the Alabama code that I was aware of, but it didn't specifically deal with aircraft. But they used this section that deals with abandoned property at the St. Elmo Airport to declare a couple of aircraft abandoned, and did not seem to have any trouble with it. And so I decided that rather than filing a lawsuit, which would have incurred additional expense, that we go forward with the process that was outlined in that particular statute. So what we did is we sent a certified letter to the last and only address that we had for the owner of the plane. That's this. It came back unclaimed out in California. So we have no idea about the whereabouts of the person who left the plane at the airport. And with that in hand, we then published a notice that is required by statute, one publication, and it ran on January the 15th. Any person claiming an interest in the aircraft had 10 days from this date, so today's the 21st. They would still have 4 more days from today's date. But if nobody comes forward claiming the aircraft within 10 days of the 15th, the authority would have the ability to dispose of the aircraft. So come January 25th, and I don't know if the board wants to make any kind of a prospective motion, but come January 25th, nobody comes forward in response to this as the owner of the aircraft, we can dispose of it.
Well, what's wrong with the prospective motion? Let's do it.
There's nothing wrong with it. I just didn't know, I just wanted to make the board aware the time had not fully run, but on the 25th, it will.
I am tired of talking about it.
Really? No.
What's our procedure for disposing of
You can dispose of it in any way you,
Is that
there
one-
is no procedure. It
Now,
is-
I think if we get it disposed of in a proper way, I think Coastal Alabama Community College wants the airplane. And they'll actually
And
take it
that
away.
would be fine. There
That
would be
would, you know,
nothing.
But they couldn't take it away unless it had been disposed of
it? All we gotta do
properly.
is tow it up the road?
Yeah.
Well, they'll figure, I mean, yeah.
Well, then I'll make a motion that if the 4 days elapses, or when the 4 days elapses, and it's not claimed by virtue of this public notice, that we dispose of the aircraft as we see fit.
Second. All those in favor of Don's motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that airplane is gone.
That's a
Do we
banana.
see fit to give it to Coastal Alabama?
Well, is that a motion?
I mean, why don't we amend the motion to give it, that'd be our first. If not, David, can you just get rid of it? It's an eyesore. I mean, I'm tired of explaining it.
If we got a school that wants it.
Yeah, no, that's
school
the, that's,
right there. Let's
that's the
shoot
best,
for them.
that's the best of all.
Well, let's go ahead and amend the motion to amend it to the effect that we'll donate it to the aviation school, Coastal Alabama School.
Yeah, we'll supply the transportation.
Okay.
On the rollers and get it out to the gate.
You
So,
can't fly down that street.
So I guess,
All right, so we amend, the motion's amended.
right.
That we'll agree to dispose of the aircraft and to give it to Coastal Alabama Community College.
Correct.
Okay? All right, can we vote on the revised motion, signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Second.
I see we have a second, we need a second.
Do you want to second the motion?
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
can we, all right, all those in favor of the motion as revised, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the plane is now gone and disposed of.
In 4 days.
In 4 days.
In 4 days, that's right.
4 days.
Don't want to get ahead of
So
ourselves.
I was gonna call.
Uh,
3 days.
Okay, moving to the Continental Report. David, you want to come up here?
So while we're on 12, on the abandoned aircraft, we still have 3 other aircraft that are paying customers, but we're actively soliciting to get those aircraft off the runway.
It's hard to move them if they're paying customers.
Yeah, but they're
I know,
in, you know, one actually flies that I know of, the other 2 are really, all 3 of them are in bad shape. But that's a NIC project that's going on.
And changing the subject, are y'all gonna monitor this so we don't have to do this again? Is there a way that, I mean, somebody comes in and works, and I think Vince brought this up before, that somebody, you work on an airplane, they don't pay or pay for services, I mean, is there some way you could claim the airport or put a mechanics lien on the airport after the work's done and before they pick it up, if they just,
There was no lien on that aircraft because it was, the maintenance that was done on it was paid for. So it was the motor was removed, it had blocks put in it, and it was rolled out, and they paid for the
all
removal.
right, well, just, I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I'll put something in place.
This is a lot of work for.
Yeah, we need something on Continental then, that after a certain amount of time of doing nothing, however it's worded, needs to be drafted by an attorney, but it's done.
We just don't need to
Yeah, I think we
spend-
have something, because Steve already gave me the approval to get rid of the aircraft long ago based on internal procedures. So it's after a certain amount of time period it's on the property, it's,
All right,
So-
well, let's just don't let it happen.
Of a
again.
non-paying customer.
yeah.
Okay? Additional
Okay.
landscaping.
Yeah, I've got a couple of quotes on some fences. One was 6K, one was 8K. So a wood 6-foot fence going along the curb was 6K, and a chain link with slats was 8K. So I don't know if that's the way we want to go or not, but
So what we're talking about here is on the north hangar where the rocks are and the utility court,
yeah,
utility
the old
court,
utilities and stuff.
utilities and whatever. And we've resided that building, it looks really, good. You know, it's just not a very good look when we come in the building. Putting a fence there that'll partially cover that up. It costs about $8,000. We're gonna split it?
Yeah, we'll split it. You want to go with wood or with the chain link?
I wanna go
You
wood.
talking down the west side?
On the west side, yes, sir.
Yeah. So what the wood will have is it'll be just inside the curb. They assure me there's no issues with, it'd be traditional posts. There's no issues with the fiber optics. And there'd be a couple of gates where you get to the stairwells. And that's 6K. That's with the wood.
Less with wood. The other's chain link with like green slats.
Yeah, they'd have the slats. You can still see through it, but it'd have the plastic slats in it. That's
It's kind
8K.
of tacky looking to me.
Yeah, the
Well,
wood
I
would
mean-
be, the wood would have to be replaced sooner, but I think the wood would be a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, if it goes 10 years or 7 years, whatever,
It's better than it is now. I mean, that would be.
and I'll be retired by then.
Will you-
Maybe.
Will you agree?
Maybe.
Will you agree to power wash the side of that building and get that mowed off?
Yeah, yeah, that's also a Nick project.
Now, having said this, I visited one of our tenants this afternoon, and he's all about landscaping, so he said he would landscape the parking lot for us for free, and he had some opinions about doing something on that west side, so let's not do anything. I'd like a tentative approval to do it, and then, but I may come back if he's got a, and he'll pay for some of it, so.
Okay, is he gonna come see me, or is he just doing
He'll
it
come
with
see,
you?
he'll come see me. We'll bring it back if he's got a plan. I mean, he's one of the, you know, it's real important for him for that sideway he drives down to look nice. And he's, in the past, has paid for things, you know, done landscaping on his own. And I presented this plan to him this afternoon, and he said, well, let me think about it. So,
Good.
I make a motion, we'll spend up to $3,000 on the $6,000 wood fence.
okay.
I'll second.
Okay, so, and then we'll move forward if we don't get, if not, I'll bring back another plan. Okay, all those in favor of moving forward with a wood fence, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes as presented.
And how high that fence gonna be, like 6 foot?
6 foot.
That metal building starts about 3 foot off the ground.
David, since we're on fences, there's a lot of growth, vines on the back corner. So if we can spray that and with Roundup, whatever we do.
Yep, the rock area, we spray the Roundup regularly, that whole section where the air conditioners and stuff.
This is kind of right behind the safety hangar, that area,
Oh, that
way
area.
down the road.
Yeah. I have not
Just take a
looked
peek
that.
at it because
Okay.
this needs to be looked at.
Okay.
Okay, audit aircraft owners liability insurance, majority of that's done. I know of 3 that are left, but that's a Nick project.
So we've gotten,
We've got all the lease information's back, but 3 of them I got back with no insurance. So it's just,
that's a win.
yeah.
So we've got 47 customers, and we've got also 3. That's real good.
David, why don't you assemble those for me so I can come and visit you one day, take a peek at them?
Okay.
And maybe we can follow up, and what are we gonna do for the 3? We're gonna, I mean, it's just keep.
We're just gonna
counting?
resolicit. We had to make sure that everything was done by email.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to probably contact them when they're on site.
Okay.
Not by email, but by regular mail.
Okay. All right, number D, you wanna talk about that?
Yeah, Nick wanted me to propose a motion to open the apron on the east side for use.
That's-
So I don't know if that means opening the gates, driving across.
He wants to use the taxiways. I mean, they have, sometimes on weekends, they've had big jets there, it would free up the taxiway. We'd have to move the barriers. He said he would move them and put them back as needed. I think we need to start using it. I mean, that's my thoughts. I think we need a formal formal.
So what about the gates? It's just gonna be from our side, the gates are gonna stay locked? Okay.
Yeah, we need to make sure that we get it marked properly and move those barriers to the east side of the ramp that's fully paved, so no one runs off the edge there.
Yeah, if we fall off the edge, that's gonna be bad news.
Yeah, that's gotta be marked very well
So
before
what,
we allow aircraft over.
so this is like, you have a lot of landings and they just need to pull off on the east side before they can taxi to the west side right now? Is that what we're talking
On
about?
a weekend, sometimes like today, we had 3 jets out there and kind of, it clogs up a little bit. So it'd be nice to have a couple who are gonna stay overnight stored over there. And also, it's finished,
Yeah. Oh, they would actually stay over there?
stay there.
Would you pull them over there, or would they taxi there and walk back across?
They would taxi and we'd probably pick them up in a golf cart.
Okay.
But we wouldn't, the larger jets, we don't tow too much.
We're not talking about opening gates or anything on that side yet, just to have ramp
It's
access.
like a phenom, yeah.
Yeah. We just need to be sure that we have established that north and south line going east and west there, but north and south where that's paved, it drops off 7 inches. That everybody knows where that is with barricade.
We anchor some cones out there, just off the edge.
Yeah.
I don't see why not,
Yeah. We'll just nail them to the,
to the unfinished
Yeah.
part.
yeah.
I think this needs to be put in a motion. Do I have a motion for that? To open the east side, subject to the safety precautions Vince said?
Yeah.
Are there expenses, like, do we need to paint? I mean, are there any painting that we need, striping that we need to do there?
It's done.
Striping would probably be the least expensive. Cones
Yeah.
would probably
And
be
I'm
the
not asking, because
safest.
do we need to put
Yeah.
that in a motion to appropriate
I
some
don't
money?
think- I mean, if y'all got cones, y'all could just do that. I mean, the east side's ready to go.
Well, we'd get some cones.
Yeah.
But
We might need to ask Hank the question, it's a great question, do we need some additional striping coming off the taxiway on that open ramp before we use it, which I don't think we do, but we need to ask that question.
I asked Hank about using the, and he said he was okay with it. In fact, he encouraged us. But I didn't ask him specifically about striping and your questions. Why don't you let me do that tomorrow?
Good.
And then we'll, but I'd like to.
We could do a motion contingent upon that if we needed to, just.
I make a motion subject to Hank approving what we're talking about and Continental taking the safety procedures at the edge of the unfinished ramp on the east side of the east side, that we open it up for use.
Okay. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second that, sure.
Okay. Any more discussion?
Oh, one tiny, on a foggy night or at night alone, we ought to have those lateral edges yellow striped. I don't know what's required, that's a Hank question, but just,
That's kind of what I was thinking,
yeah,
too.
I kind of picked it up from what you were thinking.
There's a
So,
lot of taxiway lights out there. I mean,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, but he's talking about the edge of it actually.
He's talking about the
You don't
very
want
edge of
somebody to
the
see-
asphalt versus where the light is.
right, just look into it, yeah.
We don't have any yellow striping or lights on the south end of that ramp, or the east end of that ramp where it's finished. That's what we need to verify with Hank and be sure that we don't want somebody to come back and say, well, you opened that up and I ran my $15 million jet over there and you
You
didn't have
got
it.
about $1 million.
Right. So it might, since we don't meet for another month, I mean, do we need to make any other stipulation within the motion to?
Do we have a painter guy that we use?
We've painted out there before. I mean, why don't we do this? Why don't you let me why don't we table it and we'll do it? I mean, it's no big deal. We'll just open it. Let me get some more information.
Do all the homework with Hank
We'll
and
do
come
it
back.
all.
And I'm aware of a guy that stripes highways out of Foley. Anyway, he's in the industrial park. Maybe we can talk to him.
Well, if you want to take ownership of getting this done,
Sure, I'd be happy to.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
You want to withdraw your motion then?
Yeah, I withdraw that motion.
Okay. So, but we will
Good.
tell Nick that we're working on it. We'll get it done.
And then we can use cones in the interim if there's any.
We'll just
delay.
ask Hank
Yeah.
what what best practices are.
If Don will buy that marking paint, I'll go out and paint it.
Buy your roller.
Or you can stand there flat.
That stuff's steep.
Yeah.
The cones work really well because they're reflective. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they really show up at night.
repair fence on,
I think we need to use it, but we need to be very careful from a liability standpoint that we use it right, properly.
yeah. And I guess
Fence is
that's
fixed. I drove by it twice.
a question too. You know, we haven't told our insurance carrier that we've done this expansion. So that's another, that, our insurance review comes up in March. And, I mean, I don't know if they, you know, obviously, you know, that'll change the complexion or the risk characteristics of the airport. So we need to make sure they at least know that that's open. So that's another reason to table it.
Yeah, I need to check on that too.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've talked about the repair of the fence on Bishop Road. Anything, David, you got anything else?
Nope, I'm done.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, engineers report. Hank wasn't able to be here, but Vince, you want to talk about the east side access road?
Yeah, we went out, I went to the final inspection out there, and there was just a handful of small things. Probably the biggest item was the east side fence, where actually they had all the dirt up to the elevation of the bottom of the fence, and it washed out too much, and so now they're filling it back in, and they put some silt barricades there to catch the wash, so it will stay there and do a better job. They had to get their dumpster out of there, which they did. It was in a mud hole that I said, call me the day you get it out, I want to watch you, because somehow or another they got it out and left no marks. A few minor things on the runway that I have not been back in, because I didn't have a key to get in the gate, but I believe they've been done punch list wise. So it's all done.
Okay. And then kind of piggyback on this is changing venues, but the 2018 plan, which was actually all the east taxiway runways and access roads, it was completed and we signed closeout documents the middle of December. The closeout package was this thick and had, you know, we released retainage, had to advertise, letters from the city and everything that it was done correctly. There was no mechanics liens on anything. So that closeout is done. 2018 is completed and being audited as we speak by the FAA.
And on that gate, Joe, I was concerned that before we paved that entry road, that we had power, where we actually had power on both sides. So it's not something we need to do right now. But once we get our first lease and they're about to start building, then we need to put our gate in over there so they can enter that way.
You know, the number we've been throwing around for gates is 25,000. We can buy a lot of gates for 25,000.
Yeah, I think we can get.
I mean, I've talked to somebody who was like all about $5,000 or $6,000 gate that we'd be really happy with.
Because we really have everything we need but one concrete pad for it to cantilever and roll off.
So that makes me feel a lot better because we may have to front that cost.
Right.
And we
But
may-
we don't need it
We don't
until we
need it.
have a tenant that's.
Well, next month this time, we're gonna have a tenant.
Yeah.
Is that right?
So hopefully we need it real soon.
All right.
But I was concerned about us paving the road and not having power.
And not having power,
But
yeah,
we
yeah,
do
yeah,
have it on
yeah.
both sides, so we're good.
Yeah, that's what Hank does. He's pretty thoughtful that way. Treasurer's report, Amy said she might be here. She had some work responsibilities, and she said she would try to be here, but she may not be. So in your package is a report. You know, I guess on the revenue side, we anticipated getting some hangar ground leases before now. You know, we hadn't gotten them yet, so that's why the revenues are short. But the expenses, there hadn't been much maintenance either, so it's kind of one of those things. Balances are up a little bit. Nothing really to report. Questions about the financials?
What month we pay our bond issue, big payment?
In August.
In August.
We paid $200,000 in August. That's when Vince, we pay interest every month.
Right.
Then we pay $200,000 in August. Yeah.
Okay.
Good, Jack, any questions?
Thank you.
I talked about close out the 2018 grant. And then because we've gotten, if you get $750,000 or more in grant money from a federal agency, you have to do a single audit. And we're in the process of doing the single audit of the grant. So Warren Averett's doing that as part of the city's audit. I guess the job got some grants this year too. It's a bigger deal, but we've had to supply a lot of information to them. In fact, it was so much work on Kathy Galmetti's stamp. We gave her a little extra. We paid her an extra $200 for all the work she did in helping put the package together to actually submit to Warren Averett. But we should know the outcome of that by February.
That's all been turned in.
It's all been turned in. We had to put had to document every draw on the grant. Okay, any other business?
I'll report from the advisory council. Pam thought David Keller would be the best person to call on for the website maintenance and update, but I've been unable to get a return phone call or a response to an email from David, so I'm gonna call Abe Harper and see if he will take that on for us.
Please, I've tried David Keller myself, at least 7-8 times between emails and phone calls and no response.
Yeah. I think we probably just need to drop him off the advisory council.
Probably, he's kind of done that to himself maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
We just did the treasurer's report. Do you have
Okay.
anything you want to add?
No, there was nothing.
And I would like to comment that she
Interesting.
finished it up at 11:30 last night, which we do appreciate.
You went to bed that early? Mr. Chairman, I want to ask, since we're on the other business, I had requested, we might skip over a couple of these. Did we skip over any of these agenda items? Appreciate that. Are we going to have an executive session?
I think we will. I mean, we need to.
Tonight?
Tonight.
Okay. Then and what I need to talk about would probably be best discussed in executive session, since it deals with real estate
Yep.
transactions, but I want to address the.
The only thing we voted on tonight, Jack, was the opening of the east side. Isn't that right, Jack? I mean, is that right?
He was here for that. You were
So
at the
he
east
was
side
here for that. I don't think
discussion.
you missed anything as far as votes. Did we vote? I
So that
mean,
was approval of minutes, and there was something else.
yeah, I did approve the minutes, I'm sorry.
There was something
That's
else,
fine.
let's see.
We voted to dispose of the abandoned aircraft.
You were there for that, though, weren't you, for the?
I wasn't here for the vote. I came in right after that. I came in immediately after that, so, okay.
And the
We got 4
fence.
more days to go.
The
Nobody
wooden
responds, we're
fence.
giving that aircraft.
And I'm not sure about that. Alan Bone wants to do something different. If he wants to spend his own money to
Yeah,
do it.
let's let him do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I can, what I need to discuss, probably much suited for an executive session.
Okay. Is there any comments or anything, anybody from the audience wants to visit on anything or bring anything up? Okay. All right, so I'll adjourn the meeting. Josh, will you help us?
No,
No, you just-
we don't adjourn yet.
we
We
don't
make a motion to go into executive session. And within the motion, will the meeting resume after the executive session, or will the meeting adjourn after the
I
executive
don't
session?
think so. I think we'll adjourn from executive session.
No, I think you have to come back in, reconvene, and have a motion for adjournment. And
Okay.
you need to estimate how many time you're going to be in there.
25 minutes? 25 minutes, easy.
I think the real question is whether we think we're gonna take any action or not when we come back. I don't think we are.
I don't think we are.
Can we take action within the executive committee?
No, you can't take any
So
action
we
in
have to come,
executive session.
there's a possibility we would take action, so there's a possibility we would take action.
Well, let's leave that open with
Yeah, let's
regard
leave
to
it
a
open.
lease.
Okay, that's exactly what.
That's right.
All right, so is that?
I make a
So-
motion to.
We need a motion to go into executive session. Of course, somebody will need to second that, and then a roll call vote to go into executive session.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of going to executive session, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
A roll call. You said-
Will?
Did you say a roll call
Roll
vote?
call.
Roll call.
Call the question then.
Call the question, Will.
Question. Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, now
And
the,
we can note for the record that the attorney is certified that subpart 6 and 7 of the Open Meeting Act apply to the executive session.
how do we cut the cameras off?
No, I think we need to go to the mayor's conference room.
Okay. So we don't have. All right. Yeah. We need a motion to resume
The
the
motion?
regular meeting of the airport authority. Do I have a
Yeah.
motion?
Motion. Second?
Second, okay. Do we want to talk, do we have a motion?
Let's vote on it.
On Mr. Hanson's,
You want to vote to reconvene the meeting?
thank you, Jack. We're going to vote, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of coming back into regular session, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Now, the piece of business we want to talk about is the lease that's in front of us. Does anybody want to make a motion on that lease?
Discussion first, one thing.
Okay?
I'd like to have Mr. Hanson's individual owners, his potentially eight owners, also name the airport authority as additional named insured on their individual aircraft policies. And since Mr. Hanson's in here, would he have a thumbs up? Okay. That was just something that came up in our meeting, and I thought that was pertinent. That's the end of my discussion.
Okay. Then do we have a motion to approve the lease as the last iteration that we brought up with Ms. Hanson? We've taken out the phase 2 environmental report. And other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Josh, are you okay with that?
Yes, I am.
All those in favor of
And
approving?
and that's
We need a
as per
motion.
the January 5th or somewhere in there, last revision.
The last revision was, the meeting was on January the 3rd, and I think I sent a revised version on January the 8th. Does that sound about right?
So I would ask that motion I'll make the motion to approve the revision of January the 8th
Yes,
for the lease.
yes. Subject to,
Yes, subject to making the partners of the LLC, naming the city, the airport authority additionally insured.
okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the lease as discussed and with the motions, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and the lease is approved. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Do I have a second? All those in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye.
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 Thank y'all.